Hey, how's it going, everybody? Sarasota Tim. Welcome to Fireside Chat. Friday night, baby. TGIF. Here's to you. I got myself a nice Ocean Spray Cranberry 50-50. It might even be 70-30 Cranberry. It's supposed to be the other way around, but I spoiled myself tonight. Take a look at the fire. Low flame. Still got our breeze. Definitely got the cool air, but not cold. The last couple of nights have been cool, not even chilly. I'm out here, as you can see, with shorts and a polo shirt. I got a good one for you tonight. I've been thinking about the fireside chats and thought you guys would love to hear about guns and shooting. No, we're not going to talk about it. We're not even going to mention it. Well, you can't believe a damn thing I say. I just said it. I will say, honestly though, if you saw my video today, not many people watched it, but my new Kimber 5-inch 1911 is dead on accurate. I'm still working on that dominant eye, weak eye thing. But tonight's video, you're really going to like. Knowing that most of my viewers, all 111, 614 beautiful souls out there, fit a demographic that's my age, a little younger, and a lot older, some of you. But we can all relate and remember to the old TV shows. And you guys know I love Grit TV. I watch the Tales of Wells Fargo and Bat Masterson and all these other Westerns. I just love them. But growing up as a kid, who can forget all we had to watch? And how many of us know and have yet, you still show them on TV Land and other channels that you can get these old programs, but excuse me, I don't know what's going on. I got it. We all remember those old shows. When I start mentioning them to you, I actually took some notes tonight. This afternoon, I wrote them down, thinking about the show tonight. And it's going to bring back a lot of memories for a lot of you. I know it did for me when I was talking about it today. And more than just like the old shows, the TV shows, these are those 30-minute shows. I don't know if too many of them are an hour long. Not the movies, not old-time movies. We can get into that another time. But we're going to go over them. I even remember the old-time cartoons, but that's for another video too. So, without further ado, let's refer to some of these shows and go back in time, starting with some of the shows in the 60s. I think that's what they were from. I got the 70s and the 60s, but we're going to go back. And I want to talk about, not only do you remember the show, but the actors and what their names were. And I've got some of them, but if I can't remember, I'll ask you, and you can let me know in the comments. So just starting here in no particular order. What about Green Acres? Yeah, I mean, right away, right? You're starting to sing the song, aren't you? I'd sing it for you, but I don't want to ruin the video. But man, they were just, in our mind, just etched in there with the music that would start some of these shows. And in Green Acres, so I've got some trivia for you here. It was Eddie Albert that was Oliver. And who remembers his wife's name? Most of you probably know, but I had to actually search for it. I wasn't sure. They were sisters, but it was not Zsa Zsa. It was Ava Gabor that played the wife. And here's some interesting information. Eddie Albert, Oliver, was 60 years old when he got the job, which was kind of unusual at the time. And so we know the show, but what about the people that were annoying? Who remembers, oh my gosh, this guy, um, Mr. Haney. Man, you talking about a used car salesman, a salesman, right? He'd come around, Mr. Haney. And then, of course, there was the guy with the suspenders, Ebb, the overalls. And he was the one that was like playing with half a deck. But yeah, he'd go up on that telephone pole, to use the phone. And she would say in the beginning of the show when the song would come on, New York is the place you ought to be. No, that's, well, anyway, she came from New York City, but she liked it and he liked it. But how about that show, huh? Green Acres. Did you watch it a lot? Are these ones you couldn't stand and you turned off? Next one. Now, I love this show myself. I really enjoyed watching it, and that was I Dream of Jeannie, Barbara Eden. And, of course, we know that Larry Hagman, he played Major Nelson. And then his nervous Nellie friend was Roger Healy. Now, who was the general or the colonel or that was always, they were having to hide everything, hide her from him. He was the boss. That's something you can help me out with. I forgot his name. Or was it, wasn't Sergeant, he was Colonel, General? Forgot what rank he was and his name on I Dream of Jeannie. But remember in the show, just like on another show I'm going to mention next, she had a twin sister that she played a double in, as a brunette. And I got to tell you, when I was young, some of these shows were kind of erotic to me. The way she was dressed, she was very pretty. And a couple of the other shows we're going to mention too. But yeah, I Dream of Jeannie was a good one. And that leads me into another beautiful woman was Bewitched. Bewitched was, what was her name? I should know this. Bewitched's name was, and there were several Darrens in it. Remember, there was 2 or 3 different Darrens. And I believe a couple of them, or one of them was gay. But who can forget the annoying mother, Indora? And she called her husband, she always had a nickname for him. What was his name? Darren, right? Darren? And she called him Darwood. Oh, man. Indora. Boy, she could get annoying. But more annoying than Indora was the hall monitor across the street. Gladys. Remember Gladys? She was always coming over, spying in the windows. She knew something was up. And then her husband thought she was always crazy, apologizing for her. Oh, yeah, you remember her? And Larry Tate, the boss. Darren's boss, yeah. But the other lady that was in there, the other witch, remember her? She was the aunt. She was an aunt. And she could never get her magic right. It was always mixed up. She'd make a potion and it would come out wrong. And that was Aunt Clara. Oh, yeah. She was in quite a few. And what about the uncle? He, the guy that had the very distinguished voice. Remember that guy with the big glasses? And, oh, yeah. I always thought that was cool, and how she could twitch her nose. And, between I Dream of Jeannie and Bewitched, there were 2 magic shows. Definitely hits growing up, watching those 2 shows all the time. Now, I used to watch it, but I wasn't a really big fan. But if you go back, were you a fan of My Three Sons. Remember Uncle Charlie? And did you know, I searched this and got this information, I never knew, that Chip and Ernie were real brothers? Maybe you knew that. But My Three Sons. And of course the father, I forgot his name, he's actually on Grit TV. He actually is in a lot of Westerns. And while he was this really nice father, he played a tough guy and a bad guy in a lot of old Westerns. And so was another guy in one of these other shows I'm going to talk about here, played in some Westerns too, quite a few. But My Three Sons, you know, it began, it'd have that accordion thing, you know. Of course, I Dream of Jeannie, she'd go down in that bottle, all the things that were in our minds, etched in our minds. Here's another one. I was pretty young, but I do remember watching it. It was that white-haired, gray-haired guy, Mission Impossible. And should you decide to take the mission, this message will self-destruct in 5 seconds. He'd get his little, his orders, and the show would go on. And then let's talk about some of these other shows. Mannix, I've got listed here. Now, I never watched it, but I remember it, and I know the person that starred in it, but I didn't watch Mannix. Did you watch Mannix? I know one show that takes me way back. This is definitely going back, and I would dance when it would come on, and I wanted to be him. In fact, I used to tie things around my neck. Who am I talking about? Batman. Who didn't watch Batman? That car, oh my gosh, the Batcave, and Robin, and you know, all those little bam, boom, bang, and then the little words would come up on the screen. And you know, what was the butler's name that kept the secret down there with them? And of course, you would see him without costume, and nobody knew who he was, without his mask on. He was some socialite. And who can remember the boss and everything downtown at the constable, the boss of the police, that guy? And of course, let's not forget all of the characters, because they've made so many modern movies of Batman, and many different people have played Batman in the recent years. I'm trying to remember. One was the guy that played in Beetlejuice, and then there was, their names escape me, but there's been a few Batmen. But what about the Riddler, the Penguin, Iceman, Mr. Freeze, the Joker, I said that one right, the Riddler. All these guys. We knew them all too as a kid, but I'd hear, I got it. I'd hear that song coming on, and I'd get up and start jigging, you know, and put me a sheet or a towel around my neck, make myself a cape. All right, moving on. There's so much we can talk about on Batman, right? Who hasn't watched a million, if every episode probably, unless you didn't like it, where they loaded up the truck and moved to Beverly? The Beverly Hillbillies, and that song, right? Man, that was on our mind. Everybody knows that song. It was Granny and Jethro, and they called the swimming pool the cement pond. And then the pool table, remember, that was called the fancy eating table. They used the pool cues and stuff to, wow, UPS is delivering late, to pass things around, the vittles. And of course, oh man, she was kind of on my nerves a little bit, was Miss not Drysdale, not Mr. Drysdale, but he was weird, but what was her name? The secretary of Mr. Drysdale. Wow. You know, years ago, I'd have told you all their names right away. But her name, Miss Jane. That was Miss Jane. An odd-looking woman, right? Yep. I saw her in something else one day, and I don't think that she spoke that way, that accent that she had, and it just didn't seem right to hear her speak any other way. All right. Then, here's another one that I loved. Now, I was a little boy, but I kind of wanted this guy to be my father in a way. It was sort of a fantasy, and that was the courtship of Eddie's father. I loved Bill Bixby. I thought Bill Bixby was a great actor. He played in some Elvis movies. He was a good-looking guy, well-dressed, and he was. You remember he also played in My Favorite Martian. Yeah, with that guy, who played in. He was the school teacher. Remember in Fast Times at Ridgemont High. He was Spicoli's teacher. My Favorite Martian. And speaking of Martians, I don't have it listed here, but who doesn't remember Lost in Space? Now, you talking about a nervous Nelly, that doctor, whatever his name was. Warning, Will Robinson, danger. And then that was, but that guy, he was kind of like the star of the show. I mean, without him, but he would drive you nuts. And he had that accent too. On Lost in Space. That one was kind of creepy. And another one I don't have written here that reminds me of it was Outer Limits. Now, I was scared to death because they would show these monsters, these things, and it would scare me. Remember? We control the horizontal. We control the vertical. There's nothing wrong with your television set. You guys remember these? Oh, yeah, they're coming to me now. And then, who doesn't know the most popular whistling song? You got it already, right? We've all seen every one. They went from this one to RFD, and I think that was it, maybe RFD, but who doesn't remember and seen all the episodes of Andy Griffith with Opie Taylor? Wasn't he a cute little boy? Turned out to be a big-time director, Ron Howard. And of course, Barney Fife. I talked about him. Don Knotts did the advertising for this Chevrolet dealer when I first got in the car business. He did the advertising for him. When I read an ad in the newspaper to get a job there, it says, help Don Knotts move all these Chevys this month. Make $3,000 if you're on the ball. I thought, dang, if I made half of that, I'm rich. I mean, this was 1975, 6? Yeah. That's when I was working in the car business at a Chevy store, and a Corvette, brand new in the showroom, I remember, was, in 1977, it was $7,700. And people would come in and say the same thing they do today. $7,700? I bought my first house for that. But yeah, Andy Griffith and Miss B, Aunt B. I read something one time that she was kind of a cat woman. When she got out of the business and retired, she just kind of become a woman that was kind of a recluse and had all these cats. And I hear, I don't know how true it is, that she was a little bit of a test on stage, in making the videos, that she was a little testy, a little hard to get along with. It's what I've heard, rumors. But yeah, the Andy Griffith Show. But Barney, man, that one bullet kept in his pocket. Man, he could play the part. He was a ladies' man. Truth about him is, rumor, is he was somewhat of, he liked the ladies. He had the ladies too, yeah. Barney Fife, you would think. Remember him in that movie he made, something, astronaut? And he went and accidentally got on a spaceship and went up. And then there was another one where he fell overboard in the Navy and turned into a fish. And that part of the movie was like a cartoon. And it was him, and he made this weird barking sound that helped them through, what's that called? That sound they would echo out, and oh gosh. You remember that movie? Yeah. All right, moving on. The reason I'm going kind of fast, I have quite a list here. And I have some other trivia to share with you too. There was another one that was always good to watch, and that was Emergency. Those guys would come out of the fire department, and go. And there was, I forget the guy's name that starred in it, but they'd get to the scene and there'd be something happening. They'd have to do the emergency rescues and all, and they'd always get that doctor on the phone at the hospital as to what to administer and what to do, and it was on the communication with the phone. Oh yeah, that was a good one. And then there was, of course, Adam 12. Now Adam 12 was great. That was a great show. Two guys drove around that car. One Adam 12, one Adam 12. Now, you may not have liked it, but I loved it. I grew up with it. These next ones here, all of these actually. How about the Munsters? Did you ever watch that one? Everybody thought, they were weird. And then they had this normal niece. What was her name? The niece. But, he worked at the funeral parlor, and and she thought they were normal too, and people would come and they'd get scared away. And then, of course, there was the Addams Family that was kind of a similar type of show as that. But I used to like Herman Munster and Grandpa. And then there was Lurch. I think on the Addams Family was the Hand, right? And was Lurch in the Munsters? Or no, Lurch was in Addams Family. And, they'd pull that cord down next to the curtain, and he'd show up, you rang. And then the Hand. But underneath the stairs, that was that dragon, right? On the Munsters? Or was that the Addams Family too? I get them mixed up. All right, moving on. How about this one? I loved it. And it was Family Affair with Brian Keith. I don't know why I've got Uncle Bill written here. Maybe that's because the kids were his uncle. I mean, his niece and nephew. They weren't his? I don't know. I don't remember. And then there was Mr. French, the butler. And they had that beautiful big condo, man, with a butler in there. It was very spacious. It looked big, really big in New York City. Brian Keith was another one that was in a lot of Westerns. And there was something about him, and some trivia, that he died a certain way. Maybe it wasn't him. I think it might have been. But yeah, he was in a lot of Western, Brian Keith. All right, now we're going to hit another really big popular one that everybody used to watch. And it was a 3-hour tour. It doesn't take much to give these away, does it? Gilligan's Island and all the crew, all those people. They made so many episodes, and there were so many of them that they gave like a dedicated an episode to everybody, including Ginger and Mary Ann and Mr. and Mrs. Howe, and of course the skipper. And Gilligan was the show, the star, and the professor. And they could never get off that island. It used to make me so mad as a kid. It's like, you had it. Someone would land there in a plane and they would leave, and they always had that radio, right? That never ran. I guess they had some way they created electricity. The professor was always able to do everything, right? But they were always so close to getting off the island. And yet on the island, they encountered all these other island headhunters and different things. But so many people would be shipwrecked or come there, airplanes, everything you can imagine, but yet they could never get off that island. Man, oh. Now, let's go back to when I was really, really young. My dad used to watch this, but I remember it. And this will bring back memories for a lot of my demographics that are a little older than me. And that was the Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In with Goldie Hawn, right? And all the rest of them. And Goldie Hawn, Lily Tomlin, yeah. And they would come out and do those little square holes, and the guy that was like a German, very interesting, and all that stuff. It was like a faint memory for me. I mean, I remember it very good, but I was so young I don't remember all the acts. And of course, another one that's not written down here. That one reminds me when I was really young was Hee Haw. Used to love Hee Haw. Junior Samples, BR549, and of course Buck Owens and what was his name? I was going to say Glenn Campbell. It's not Glenn Campbell. It's Buck Owens. I'm a grinning and he's a picking. I'm a picking and he's a grinning, I should say. That was, man, he was one heck of a guitarist. You can see him. Oh, I got to turn this up. He was one heck of a guitarist. You can see him on YouTube. What was his name? Buck Owens and, see, there's about 4 now. I can't remember the name. It should have been really easy for me to remember. Now, here's a show I've got written down that I wasn't a big fan of. No reason. I just didn't watch it much. But many millions did. And that is, how does that song go when it came on? About his and hers. And the song went, the Brady Bunch. That's it. So the Brady Bunch, right? All those boys and the girls and Marcia, and so many, liked that show. They liked that family scene. They liked Marcia. So many girls wanted to be her and everything else. And I didn't tune into it much, but of course I watched it. I did, but I did watch this one a lot. Another family show. And this was starring a heartthrob that the girls loved. David Cassidy and the Partridge Family. Remember that one? Man, they played some good songs. Shirley Jones was the mom, and she was actually David Cassidy's real stepmother. You believe that? I always liked Sue, I think that's her real name, Sue, but she had these braces during the movie, during the show when I watched it, and she had these eyes, and there was something, I was infatuated with her. She was so pretty. Susan Day, that's right. And they'd always sing a song, and they had that band manager, remember him, the guy? And then the kid, the young son, the redheaded kid, he grew up and he got involved in all kinds of stuff later in life. And I forgot his name. Let me see if it's written here. David Cassidy. Oh, now here's something about David Cassidy. His real life father, Jack Cassidy, he was a famous actor. And I've heard of him. I mean, I'd know him if I saw him. But guess what happened to him? Shirley Jones was married to Jack Cassidy, and so she was David Cassidy's stepmother. But Jack Cassidy died a horrible death. He was a boozer and a smoker, and he burned himself down in an apartment or his house. He died in a fire. Yeah, drinking and smoking. That's the... I mean, a lot of these things, I don't know if you knew about that. I didn't know. All right, let's wind it up here. Moving to the 70s now, there was, I was becoming an adolescent, and I was watching these shows, and this was erotic. There was always something, and I like the way people dressed in the 70s. I like the way women looked in the 70s. They had long hair. The mini skirts were out. They wore the paint, and it was a very sexy time. Who remembers? Well, of course you remember Love Boat. Every episode had, some love scene going on where people were, getting on the cruise. That's so funny. You look at Love Boat, and that ship is a joke compared to like Royal Caribbean's Oasis class that I've been on many times. I mean, you could put it in the down inside of it, but it was great, and there were very beautiful women on there, and good, you know, really erotic kind of scenes on that one, I remember. And so was Love American Style. Yeah, late Friday night, that came on. And that was always some kissing and smooching and some stuff going on there in the 70s. So things were starting to change because, in these earlier shows, they had separate beds. They didn't sleep in the same bed together. And there were, they put the robe on when they got out of the beds and, all that kind of stuff. They were, how TV has changed from today, right? And who remembers like Hazel and those shows too? I just came to mind. All in the Family. There was Chips. Oh yeah, you remember Chips? What was his name? Paunch. Oh yeah, him and his darted shirt. Yeah, it fitted. Oh yeah, he was the heartthrob. How about this one? Talking about some cuties. Three's Company. What was her name? Susan. She made that little exercise thing. She wasn't Susan Day. That was the Partridge Family. This one was Susan. Three's Company. The blonde. Who was that brunette? She wasn't the one that starred on Cougar Town years later. No, I don't think so. But what was Susan's name? She made that Thigh Master. Remember that one? The Waltons. Oh my gosh. I don't know. I watched it. Who didn't, right? The Waltons. And what was that guy's name? The son. He had that mole on his face. Here's another one. We're down to the last three here. There was a reason I'm not elaborating on these. I don't remember too much about the people, or no trivia that I can tell you about. How about Dukes of Hazzard? Another kind of a sexy show. Those three girls, whatever it was. And now we got When America later on all tuned in, and Who Shot JR? That's right, man. Dallas. Boy, that was a good one. Yeah, and they had the money and the oil, right? That was when, there were just few millionaires in our country. There wasn't no such thing as a billionaire. And then, of course, let's keep up with the sexiness. Farrah Fawcett, baby, in Charlie's Angels. Oh yeah, well, she died unfortunately. With the cancer, I guess. I think it was. Tried everything, went overseas, did all these different things, but unfortunately, when that gets a hold of you, sometimes it's really hard to shake it. But Charlie's Angels was a great show, and Farrah Fawcett, remember on the Bionic Man, the Bionic Woman. It wasn't Farrah Fawcett, but these are shows that are just coming to mind. But anyway, what do you guys think? I'd like to know in the comments if there's anything that you remember that I didn't list. I tried to come up with a good list to stump you, because if I'd have listed just a few of these, all of you would have said, oh, what about this and what about that? But I think I covered quite a few here. And just think, that was all there was. We all watched it. We all knew the song that started the show. We all knew their names, each person's thing. And now there's, cable with 150, 200 channels, and they got nothing worth watching. And there's nothing even worth watching. All anybody watches now is the media. So, but we're going to wrap it up with that, folks. I got a senior salad that I want to get down. It's getting already past my window, but I don't care about that window anymore. It's all about calories in and calories out. It's not even really about exercise. Exercise is very, very important, and diet too. But I'm really, I don't know why I even went for all these other ideas, these fad diets. It's really quite simple, folks. You are what you eat, and you're going to be as big as how much you eat. So just trying to do the best I can. I'm getting a little older. I'd like to look thin and be fit and be able to do what I got to do with traveling and operating this machine here and driving that cement truck. That's the new name, you know, for the super crusher. I drove around the other day. It was like driving around a cement truck. She's a good girl, though. She does her job when it comes to what she's got to do. But I'll tell you what, I'm so glad I'm keeping that Honda. She's a good girl, too, because it's just a dream to drive. 40 miles per gallon, the little thing on the dash says, every day of the world, no matter what I do, I'm getting 40 miles per gallon. So I'm saving a little bit there. But I do like to get in the truck every now and then and drive it around and take it to the car wash. Got that membership. So folks, I hope you enjoyed tonight's Fireside Chat. We'll try to come up with some more interesting topics. I'm glad that we got off of the ones that we were talking about. But it's always good to reminisce. And like I said, I know my community out there certainly remembers these because I don't have too many 20-year-olds watching this channel. But thanks again. If you're not subscribed and you're new to my channel, we are talking about everything here. We do everything. We go everywhere. You never know what I might video. Would you consider subscribing? And would you mind hitting the thumbs up on the video? If you liked it, I would greatly appreciate it. It does really help me out on the algorithm that I fight every single day with YouTube. And I also want to thank everyone again that does use the links in my videos. As I mentioned this morning or yesterday or whenever it was, I did receive a commission check from Amazon. So those of you that use the link when you shop on Amazon, that's really, really appreciated. I mean, it's going to help us out to get out there and pull the thing around and bring you some more content. We're going to get on the golf course next week. My stitches are going to be, I'm going to take them out myself, I think, in a couple of weeks. And but we're just going to simply crush it.